Welcome to the SIGA Web Summit on Female Leadership in Sport. When I was listening to the great female leaders who took the floor before me, I couldn't help remembering myself of one particular moment, some 3.5 years ago, when crossing the skies somewhere between Lisbon and Geneva, I decided to mobilize the whole SIGA community to empower women in sport, to promote gender equality, to create meaningful opportunities for aspiring female leaders. I knew then that one day we would be here with all of you fighting the good fight. Today, it's the International Women's Day, and the world gathers to remember, celebrate, and renew its commitments to women's rights, or in better words, human rights. Today, the world renews its vows to fix things up, to ensure that finally women and girls are treated with justice and dignity, to ensure that they have access to education, access to choose a career, and the freedom to decide about their own lives, their own bodies, their own futures. Then we know what happens. Another day comes by, everybody goes home, and it's business as usual on the following morning. Don't you have this feeling? Don't you have this impression? I certainly do. It shouldn't be so complicated to understand that if we continue at this pace, gender equality in our society and in sport will not happen in our lifetime. The idea, this naive idea that problems can be quick fixed and cultural change can happen overnight just with grandiloquent speeches and noble proclamations is a myth. That's, in my view, myth number one. Myth number two, sport has the power. Sport has the power. So begins Nelson Mandela's anthem to sport and its amazing virtues as a force for good, a beacon of light, a dynamo of hope, a catalyst of human development, and of course, respect and dignity for all, regardless of gender, race, age, religion, sexual orientation, or social background. But my God, how far are we from all that? I do not dispute that sport has the power. Let me be clear about that. Of course, sport has the power. But is sport using its power to the fullest? Is sport doing all it can to influence positively our society? Is sport doing everything within its reach to change the needle, to rise up, to match the expectations? In other words, is sport leading by example? How can sport change the world if sport doesn't change itself first? How can sport inspire the world if sport does not inspire itself first and remains crystallized in shackles, locked in the 19th century with obsolete governance structures, opaque financial dealings, and male-dominated boardrooms? How can sport, ladies and gentlemen, make us believe that men and women are equal in rights and therefore must enjoy equal opportunities if sport doesn't walk the talk? So no matter how much money you spend on propaganda, how many spin doctors you bring in, how many cosmetic campaigns you invent, as far as gender equality at the top table is concerned, the truth is inexorable. Are you ready for it? I'll tell you. In 2019, the percentage of women at the top table, I mean women with a seat on the executive committee of the International Sports Federations, was a mere 18.3%. I repeat, 18.3%. Where do you think we are now? Where do you think we stand 2 years later, after the grandiloquent speeches and cornucopias of promises that have been made? Where do we stand 1 year after the beginning of this devastating global pandemic and all the promises that you have heard about a new El Dorado, a new beginning, a new and formidable dawn for humankind? I tell you where we stand. It's not on 18.3%. Unfortunately, it's not. It's 17.8%. Yes, you heard me right. 17.8%, which shows that clearly sport is not using its power to the fullest, and it's certainly not moving forward. It's moving backwards. It's not that I'm talking about the number of women who practice sport versus men. I'm not talking about the reasons why women's sport had to close doors while men's sports could resume their activity. I'm not referring to gender representation at consultative committee level or any other talking shop. I'm referring to those organs where real power lies, where those decisions that are really made. I'm referring to gender equality at the top table, the executive committee. So, ladies and gentlemen, 17.8%. What do you say to that? Is this the best that sport can do? Is this the finest example of democracy, equal rights, equal opportunities that sport can give? Is that all? I simply refuse to accept that. And I'm sure that every one of you who are attending this web summit feels exactly the same way. So against this background, what shall we do? Shall we just complain and do nothing about it? Shall we turn a blind eye? How can we use this momentum to accelerate the pace of change? What shall we say to the establishment out there who exalts their governance status by parading one woman token or two or three on executive committees with 9, 12, 15, 17, 38 men? What shall we, which means all of us, say to those so-called sports leaders who keep throwing into the future the realization of gender equality, like several governments have been ridiculously doing with the environment, kicking into 2030, 2050, the accomplishment of goals that should be accomplished now, while life in our planet is still seemingly viable? Are we ready, ladies and gentlemen, to tell them that we are not interested in 17.8%? Are we ready to tell them that we are not interested in 18.3%, and we are certainly not even interested in 33%? This is a decisive moment, and the choice you make right now will influence and impact the future. The future not only of sport and the image we wanted to portray, but the future of the generations who also have the legitimacy to serve sport, not just to feel the passion to participate in it, but also to take responsibility for its own affairs, regardless of the gender, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of how deep goes their pocket. So it is time for action. So I encourage you, I invite you, I urge you to come along, make your voice heard. Tell them that you want no favors, that you need no favors from them or anybody else. You want, you deserve, you expect, and you are entitled to equal rights and equal opportunities, regardless of genders, races, social backgrounds. Not in a decade from now, but now. To give the example, to lead the charge, I am proud to announce that is from the next SIGA elections, we will have not a quota of 1% or 10%, but absolute parity on the composition of all our internal organs, starting with the SIGA also next month, when elections are held. You know, we mean business. You know, our word is only one. You know that we always deliver what we promise. Over the past 5 years, we have instigated change. You have been with us since inception. With your active engagement and your support, we have mobilized and united female leaders around one critical fundamental mission. And this is why we are here today. and will be tomorrow and on Wednesday. We have engaged men too in the conversation because men are part of the solution and they must step up and support women in this fundamental cause. And third, we have delivered long overdue and much needed tangible reforms with our universal standards, starting with universal standards on good governance, of which gender equality, diversity, and inclusion are a fundamental pillar, but also by developing the SIGA independent rating system, the only system that can guarantee with objectivity, impartiality, and independence that organizations walk the talk, that organizations are truly advancing in the way they form themselves and operate. The SIGA independent rating and universal system serves. We have done the same with our global mentorship program for female leadership in sport. And how proud I am to see today 100 women from all over the world uniting, sharing information, sharing knowledge, sharing expertise, and leading towards a future of female empowerment and equality. But that's not all, because it's from this moment on, we will be developing the SIGA Sport Equality Index so that we monitor, so that we follow, so that we scrutinize the progress that sports organizations are doing to ensure that the boardrooms are equally open to women, are equally open to all genders, and that meritocracy is the only valued and possible criteria. The man born in Portugal during a brutal fascist regime, a time where civil liberties were inexistent, where freedom of expression and assembly were severely repressed, and women were not even granted the same rights as men. My eyes were open to oppression, injustice, and discrimination at a very early age. Throughout my whole life, I always felt compelled to make choices, to pick sides, and fight against injustice, dictatorship, and the denial of human rights. Those who know me know that what I'm saying is the truth. There were times where I felt alone. Yes, there were. Many. But not today. And not tomorrow. For what is true is that you stand with SIGA. You are ready to fight the good fight, side by side with us, now and in the future. My name, you know it. It's Emanuel Medeiros. I'm the global CEO of SIGA, and I count on you.